You are raising awareness among us about the climate law from time to time. When activists other than yourself also intensified the warnings about this issue, the president made a statement that this law is being interpreted differently and that this law will be for the benefit of society. How should we as Muslims view this issue, and what responsibilities do we have? Now let me first emphasize one point. How should we look at this issue from our perspective? Now Allah, glory be to Him, mentions something very important in the Quran about the corrupt human beings who ruin the earth. He mentions one of their characteristics to us, and it is this: وَإِذَا تَوَلَّى سَعَى فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُفْسِدَ فِيهَا وَيُهْلِكَ الْحَرْثَ وَالنَّسْلَ. When any of them comes into a position or gets a task, or as we can interpret this verse, when they depart from you, they speak well in your presence, claiming to work for the good of humanity, etc. But the moment they leave or assume a task, they strive upon the earth. What is the purpose of this effort? Corrupting the earth. These people commit every kind of mischief you can think of. Ideological, moral, every kind of corruption. But Allah the Almighty particularly emphasizes two things about them. They have characteristics that have never changed throughout history. They are enemies of nature, so they want to eliminate the two sources that nourish nature. What are they? To destroy the crops and the generations, to corrupt the crops and the generations, to ruin the crops and the generations. Now, one of the biggest projects of today's tyrants and those who rule the earth is to destroy the generations and the crops. How are they destroying the generations? Here are the false educational methods with ideological programs, here by releasing some deviant thoughts and blocking the thoughts that invite people to good. Especially for today, I am saying by legitimizing homosexuality and making it appealing to children. For example, think about how South Korean pop groups have taken the world by storm in the past 10 years. If someone didn't pave the way for them, if they weren't given a chance, would it be possible for their low quality, trashy music to take the world by storm? It's not possible. But what are they more talked about for than their music? For their makeup, for men dressing like women, for women acting like men. Because it removes gender identity in this new generation and will corrupt the generation, people deliberately pave the way for this. And then there's crop. Because human beings are what they eat. Whatever a human eats, their morals, character, and identity are shaped accordingly. In the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jalla commands us to have clean and halal food, just as He commands us to pray, fast, and give zakat. What does one verse say? Eat from what is halal and clean then. Don't follow in the steps of the devil means that there is a connection between me eating what is lawful and clean and not following in the devil's footsteps. What does it say elsewhere? Eat what is lawful and clean. Then Allah says, وَعْمَلُوا صَالِحًا, and do righteous deeds. What I eat and drink either makes righteous deeds easier for me or makes them harder. This is related to what I consume. These people, knowing this, knowing the effect of what is consumed on human nature, try to legitimize all the ways that will corrupt this, take it out of the natural, and condemn people to artificial things. For example, you know this topic came up with artificial meat, but actually the issue is not just about artificial meat. For instance, they can impose restrictions on agriculture. They are enacting a climate law. The government can intervene in how much and what you plant. Now, when you hand over this right to the people and companies who Allah said would corrupt crops and generations, they first destroy agriculture piece by piece. Then it condemns you to artificial, hormone-laden foods it produces itself, which disturb your balance given by Allah and stimulate the sexual urges of an 11-year-old or a 9-year-old child. They can impose restrictions on keeping animals. What do they say? It's that the gases released by animals upset the balance of nature. If you care so much about nature, try giving up one of your private jets. You all use things that pollute the environment. This is not a problem. Then they say that cows are releasing greenhouse gases into nature, that someone else is releasing some kind of gas into nature. We need to limit animal husbandry. Now there's a new thing. They've been doing this for years anyway. While eating natural meat, we keep hearing about its harms if you pay attention. They say it causes cholesterol, blocks arteries, causes this and that. For years, humans have been consuming this meat without these issues. So why is it a problem now when I eat natural meat? If someone suggests veganism to me, I can understand. I mean, it's wrong to a certain extent, but an inconsistent wrong. They advertise to me that the artificial meat they produce is healthier, has lower calories and lower fat content. Now you, or rather none of us, will remember this. When margarines were introduced, when margarine entered the market in Turkey, suddenly there was an onset of hostility towards olive oil in the market. Men in white coats appeared on screens telling people about the harms of olive oil. Why? Because olive oil is something people produce themselves, something they don't pay money for in the market. Right now we buy it with money, but 50 or 60 years ago, everyone made their own olive oil at their home. But what's happening? Instead, margarine is entering the market. This time they say 50 years later, don't consume margarine, you'll die. Look, margarine causes this and that, they say. That's why Allah the Almighty has already introduced these people to us. These people have no projects aimed at improvement, goodness or piety. The existence and absence of these people is to corrupt the earth. Why? Because Allah calls them the party of devil in the Quran. These are the devil's party. Just as their party leader, whom we call the devil, has no intention for goodness, benevolence or beauty, those who support him, who believe in him, also have nothing directed towards goodness or benevolence. No good attitude, no good behavior. That's why a politician must advertise the law he enacts. Because every law enacted by a politician is like a product released by a company. Just as no company criticizes its own product, it must advertise it. It must show it as good and beautiful to people. The asset of a politician is the law made by the politician. Naturally, they will praise it, claim it's a good thing, but instead of listening to politicians, we should look at the facts and the situation. If you notice, everything new they bring does not benefit humanity at all and continuously brings harm. For example, what is the greatest harm they have brought to humanity? Currently, a large majority of the new generation no longer has a gender identity. For instance, when you go to a store, there's a product for men, a product for women, and something both can use. 50 years ago, if there was such a thing, people would likely have stoned that store. But now, after seeing, hearing, and discussing it over and over, we've gotten used to it. The ones who show their reactions the most are turning away from that section. They don't bother with that section, they aren't interested in it. For this reason, these men are currently trying to establish the greatest dictatorship in history. They already say this openly. They talk about one world, one government, one parliament, one army. Notice how recently this word one has become very frequent in politicians' language. Some use this word out of nationalist sentiment, others use it out of other sentiments, but we have started to hear this single expression everywhere. The reason for this is that they have a desire to link all people to a certain center, to link them to a certain law, to exploit them all as a whole, to integrate them all into the global system. Allah the Almighty has already informed us of this. بل مكر الليل والنهار إذ تأمروننا أن نكفر بالله ونجعل له أندادا. On the day of judgment, Allah conveys to us what we, the oppressed, will say to the ruling elites. You plotted day and night to make us disbelievers and to make us associate partners with Allah. These people seem to have no other job. They sit day and night planning and projecting how to make these people disbelievers, how to make them polytheists. China, for example, is already doing this. The world may criticize China's dictatorship, but they want to emulate the Chinese system. They want to include the whole world in this, including China. What is it? For example, you have a citizenship score in China. You might have seen some footage where facial recognition systems identify you and continuously score you. This affects your salary. This affects the incentive you receive from the state. If there is a queue for anything, it affects your place in line. And at the end of the day, you are turning into a robot. So without questioning any law, without adhering to any principle, just so your citizenship score does not drop, you comply with whatever is asked of you because the cameras see you. What does Islam want from us? It wants a conscious believer who questions what you will do, looks at whether what is commanded to us is legitimate, and approaches events with the measure of halal and haram. But they say no. Let your citizenship score be the new Lord that determines your entire life. This climate law is one of the parts that serves this purpose. It is one of the pieces to establish that global dictatorship. May Allah the Mighty and Majestic protect us and our generation. Let me clearly emphasize something. When packaged foods emerged, people did not react appropriately. And today, we are all complaining about this. A generation has emerged with disrupted hormonal balance, unable to focus on anything, unable to understand even a very simple command. Their task is to open a bag of food and look at the screen. In other words, eating packed food, putting it in their mouth, filling their mouth, and fix their eyes on a single point. If people respond appropriately to what this new system imposes on them and show their reactions and are acquitted, their responsibility in Allah's eyes will be removed. But I am saying this for society. A generation far more disastrous than the one we are complaining about now will come. May our Lord protect us from their evil. May the traps they set turn against them. The reality is, nothing will change by me saying this from this platform. Nothing will change in the world by someone sharing this on social media. The only thing that can defeat power is power. Because how are these people able to do this? How can they get a law passed in Turkey? How did they manage to pass this law in Italy? With power. They have money, they have soldiers, they have armies, they have politics, and with this they impose power. If you don't comply, the dollar falls, the dollar rises. If you don't comply, gold prices fluctuate, suddenly oil prices fluctuate. Your economy gets wrecked. Against such people, you can't change anything by tweeting or speaking on a platform like I do. There is only one way for this. Islam will be the ruler. When Islam is the ruler, it means Muslims will have a leader. Muslims will be together and will face strength with strength. They will say to the world, for instance, reject this climate law, and whoever is pressured will be under my protection. Whoever is pressured will find me standing against them. Everyone already knows that this is something false. But because people don't have an opportunity, they have to accept it. They have to succumb to it. That's why only power can break power, only force can break force. Remember, we talked about this a lot in the Seerah lessons. Guidance only reaches perfection when there is also support. I mean, I know the truth, this is guidance. The climate law is false, but there is no support, no power alongside it. What was it saying? وَكَفَى بِرَبِّكَ هَادِيًا وَنَصِيرًا. Your Lord is sufficient as a guide and helper. Allah not only guides, but also wants guidance to be supported by power. The only thing for this is military strength. You must have power in your hands. As Osman, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the sword reforms and gives direction to many people, whom the Quran cannot reform and direct. These people, I mean the people who do these things, are evil people, corrupt people. They are people who do not understand anything about sitting at the table, discussion or negotiation. There is only one language they understand. They only understand those who are not afraid of death, and who, when they face them, will stand against them until the last man perishes, until they are martyred. We need armies like those described by Khalid ibn al-Walid that will not retreat. Unfortunately, nothing else is happening. May Allah show the Islamic community this in the shortest time, in this last period of humanity. May they have armies again, may they have leaders again, and systems again, so that they can eradicate the Western evil from its roots. Because really, not only people on the world, but even birds and animals need guidance now. Islamic guidance. The most important point, I've moved past humans. Humans already need it. Even for an animal to live like an animal, there needs to be a system where its rights are protected in a divine order. Just so 2 to 3 ladies can dress nicely, animals are being skinned alive. Historically, only a system like Islam could prevent this. It says you cannot torture an animal for your personal pleasure. Will you kill it? Will you use its fur? Kill it. Prevent the animal from suffering. And then you can take its fur because Allah has made this permissible for you. But you cannot skin an animal alive just because a higher quality, shinier fur comes out, says Islam. Even animals need the rules of Islam in today's world. May Allah the Mighty and Majestic grant us the ability to see. If Allah has such a will for humanity, may He use us on this path. May humanity be quickly saved from this disaster, this calamity. Allahumma ameen.